Far out in the high desert of New Mexico, you can find signs of cultures that disappeared long before European explorers ever reached American shores. From huge stone buildings that line up perfectly with the sun and stars to underground rooms carved with strange symbols. These old places keep testing what we know about ancient life in the Southwest. Tonight, we travel to 10 of New Mexico's most puzzling archaeological mysteries. Spots where the clues leave us with more questions than solutions. Before we begin, I'm curious about something. If you live in the USA, what state are you listening from? And what time is it where you are? Maybe you live right in New Mexico and get to see these mysteries for yourself. I'd really like to hear your personal stories in the comments section below. Chaco Canyon, in the far-off northwest corner of New Mexico. A huge collection of ancient ruins spreads across land that seems too tough to hold big groups of people. Yet, from about 900 to 1150 AD, Chaco Canyon became the busy heart of ancestral Puebloan society. It was home to enormous stone buildings bigger than anything else made in North America before Europeans came. The size of Chaca's great houses is hard to understand. Just one, called Pueblo Bonito, had more than 600 rooms and stood 4 stories tall. Its walls were built from perfectly cut sandstone blocks stacked together without any mortar. The work needed to move some 200,000 wooden logs from forests over 50 miles away. Each beam was chosen with care and carried across rough land without using wheels or animals. What turns these amazing buildings into true puzzles are the parts that don't seem to have any clear, useful purpose. Perfectly straight roads run for hundreds of miles in every direction from Chaco, some 30 feet wide, and built to stay on course, even over steep hills that would have been easier to go around. These roads link to many smaller settlements, making a web that covers much of the Four Corners area. The great houses themselves hold building mysteries that still confuse experts. Many rooms show no proof people lived there, missing the fire pits or storage areas you find in normal homes. Some buildings look more made for ceremony than daily life, with huge round rooms called great kivas that could hold hundreds of people. Corner doorways line up with the sunrise and sunset on special days like solstices, hinting the structures worked like giant tools for watching the sky. Maybe most interesting, the guesses for how many people lived in Chaco Canyon are much smaller than you'd think needed for such huge buildings. The farmland and water there could have maybe fed a few thousand, but the building work would have needed the organized help of tens of thousands. This suggests Chaco worked as a central place that brought people from all over the Southwest together for specific reasons. But what those reasons were is still not clear. The mystery grows when you think about Chaca's quick decline. By 1200 AD, all building had stopped, and the great houses were mostly empty. Nothing shows that war, sickness, or a natural disaster caused this leaving. The people just went away, taking their knowledge and customs with them to new homes across the region. New studies of the great houses show more puzzles about how they first looked and worked. Some show signs of being built in stages over hundreds of years, with rooms closed off and opened again, walls changed, and whole sections rebuilt. This hints the buildings kept changing over time, fitting new needs or beliefs that we can only barely see in what's left behind. The clever water systems at Chaco are another mystery. Builders guided seasonal floods through planned channels, gathering runoff in pools and sending it to farm fields. The accuracy of this system matches that of much later cultures, yet it was done with only stone tools and human hands. Trade networks centered on Chaco brought special items from all across North America. Copper bells from Mexico, seashells from the Pacific coast, and turquoise from mines hundreds of miles away, all ended up in the canyon. This shows Chaco's job as a major trading center. But how this trade system actually worked is still mostly unknown. The sky patterns built into Chaco's buildings point to a deep knowledge of star and sun cycles that went far beyond just making a calendar. Some researchers think these patterns served religious or ceremonial purposes tied to seasonal events, but the exact beliefs and practices have been lost over time. The great houses stand as monuments to a way of seeing the world we can look at, but never fully grasp. Their stone walls hold secrets we may never solve. Aztec Ruins, 40 miles north of Chaco Canyon beside the Animas River, sits one of the best-kept examples of ancient Puebloan building in the Southwest, despite its name, which comes from early settlers' guesses about who made it. Aztec Ruins shows the peak of ancestral Puebloan building skill and town planning. The main feature of the place is a huge Pueblo building that once rose 3 stories high, with over 400 rooms set around a central square. The quality of the stonework here beats even what's found at Chaco Canyon. with walls made from exactly shaped sandstone blocks that fit together so well you often can't slip a knife blade between them. What makes Aztec ruins especially mysterious is its link to the Chaco system. The pueblo's design follows Chaco's plans exactly, from room sizes to wall building methods. A perfectly straight road connects the site right to Chaco Canyon, suggesting close bonds between the groups. But Aztec ruins seems to have been built after Chaco's busiest time, making us wonder how building knowledge was shared and kept alive over many generations. The site's Great Kiva gives us one of archaeology's most amazing restoration stories. When dug up in the 1920s, workers found this round ceremonial room filled with dirt, but with its main parts mostly whole. The careful rebuilding showed a space 40 feet wide, circled by large wood columns that held up a roof able to support hundreds of people. Stone-lined fire pits, air shafts, and sound features made to spread noise show an understanding of engineering that feels almost modern. Dating clues from Aztec ruins show several times when people lived there, spread over hundreds of years. First building started around 1100 AD, closely copying Chaco's ways. After a time when it seems everyone left, new people came back and changed the buildings, adding rooms and altering inside layouts to fit different cultural tastes. This pattern of coming back and making changes lasted into the 1300s, long after Chaco Canyon was left empty. The reasons for these cycles of living there and leaving are still not clear. Weather records show the area had dry spells that might have forced people to move for a while, but the Pueblo spot near the steady river should have given enough water even in dry times. The changes made by later people suggest different cultural groups found the place appealing, but who they were and where they came from are still puzzles. Items found at Aztec ruins show the same wide trade networks we see in Chaco culture. Pottery styles from all over the southwest appear in the site's layers, along with raw materials and finished goods from places hundreds of miles off. This shows the Pueblo kept its role as a local center even as the larger Chaco system faded. But the ways it kept these connections alive over time remain a mystery. The Pueblo's inside layout shows careful planning that is more than just putting houses together. Groups of rooms look made for big families with shared workspaces, storage rooms, and connecting doors that point to strong social ties between those living there. Yet, some parts of the Pueblo have rooms showing no signs of daily use, their purpose lost to time. One of the most interesting things about Aztec ruins is how it seems to have been left empty during a time when the local population was growing. Tree ring data shows good environmental conditions in the 1300s at other pueblos. Yet by 1400 AD, Aztec ruins was abandoned, its people having moved away for reasons we still don't understand. The site's good condition adds another layer to its mystery. Unlike many ancient ruins that suffered from weather and wear, Aztec ruins kept much of its building structure until modern digging began. This special preservation let researchers study building methods and design details lost at other sites. But it also makes us ask why this particular spot avoided the damaging forces that hit similar buildings elsewhere in the region. The Pueblo's links to modern Native American groups bring ongoing puzzles about cultural continuity and remembered history. While several tribes today say they have ancestors from Aztec ruins, the specific ties between old and new populations are still being studied and debated, leaving many questions about the site's full meaning unanswered. Sandia Cave. High on the west side of the Sandia Mountains, looking over the Rio Grande Valley, a natural cave once seemed ready to change what we know about when people first came to North America. Found in the 1930s, Sandia Cave looked like it held proof people lived there more than 20,000 years ago, which could have made it one of the oldest known places of human activity on the continent. The cave itself sits in a dramatic spot on the mountainside, reachable only through a narrow opening that leads into a series of connected rooms going deep into the limestone cliff. Early digs showed clear layers of dirt containing stone tools, animal bones, and signs of fire use going back through thousands of years of human life there. The most arguable finds came from the deepest layers of the cave's dirt. Here, diggers found special spear points with unique side notches that were very different from the well-known Clovis points found at sites across North America. These Sandia points looked like they showed an earlier, unknown stone tool tradition that came before Clovis by several thousand years. With these very old tool layers were bones from animals that no longer exist, like giant ground sloths, camels, and horses that vanished from North America at the end of the last ice age. These bones being near human-made items suggested people hunted these creatures thousands of years before most experts accepted humans were in the Americas. Early carbon dating of organic material from the cave's deepest levels first backed up these amazing age guesses, giving dates that put human life there around 25,000 years ago. If right, these finds would have meant completely rewriting ideas about when and how people first arrived in the Americas. But as archaeology methods got better, and the site was studied more carefully, big problems came up with the first ideas. The cave's dirt layers proved more complicated than first thought, with signs of mixing between different time periods that could have messed up the dating order. Animal bones that seemed linked to human items might have been left by natural events, not human action. The special Sandia points themselves came under question as researchers wondered if they showed a real ancient tool tradition, or just broken or reworked versions of later point types without clear, undisturbed old layers linking these tools. Their true age stayed uncertain, making things harder. Tries to go back and dig again at important parts of Sandia Cave have been slowed by the site's tough access and because much of the original archaeological dirt was taken out during early digs. This makes it very hard to check or disprove the first claims using modern study methods. Even with these arguments, Sandia Cave still gives important information about human life in the southwest. Later dirt layers in the cave have well-documented proof of archaic period peoples who used the place as a seasonal home between 3000 and 1000 years ago. These stays give useful looks into how hunter-gatherer groups adapted to the changing environments of the southwest after the Ice Age. The cave's special conditions have saved organic materials that rarely last at open-air sites. Pieces of baskets, rope, and wood tools found in these later layers offer rare peeks into the daily lives of ancient peoples whose belongings were mostly made from materials that rot away in most archaeological spots. Recent study of the cave dirt using modern methods has shown environmental shifts in the Sandia Mountains over thousands of years. Pollen samples, tiny charcoal pieces, and chemical signs in the cave's layers give a detailed record of climate changes, plant shifts, and fire patterns that affected human life in the area. The story of Sandia Cave shows the problems archaeology faces when amazing claims need amazing proof. While the site may not have given the revolutionary insights into early human presence first claimed, it still adds valuable information about how people adapted to life in southwest mountain settings. The cave's dirt holds more secrets, waiting for new study methods that might finally answer the questions that have surrounded this place for almost 100 years. The ongoing debates about Sandia Cave reflect bigger questions about human settlement of the Americas that remain active areas of study as new sites are found, and study methods keep improving. The true importance of Sandia Cave's part in our understanding of ancient humans in North America may finally be decided. Lechuguilla Cave, 3 miles under the surface of the Chihuahuan Desert. Lechuguilla Cave winds through total darkness in passages that feel more like another world than our own Earth. Since its discovery in 1986, this huge underground system has challenged every idea about how caves form, how minerals are deposited, and the very limits of life itself. The cave's size alone puts it among the most amazing natural features in North America. Over 140 miles of mapped tunnels make it the 8th longest cave system in the world, while depths over 1,600 feet rank it among the deepest in the mainland United States. Yet these numbers are only for the parts people can reach, as ongoing trips keep finding new passages going into unmapped areas. What makes Lechuguilla different from other cave systems is its pure condition and the incredible mineral shapes that decorate its rooms. Unlike most caves made by slightly acidic groundwater, dissolving limestone over millions of years, Lechuguilla was carved by sulfuric acid made by bacteria eating hydrogen sulfide gas, rising from deep oil deposits. This unusual creation process made rooms and tunnels unlike those in normal caves. The mineral shapes inside Lechuguilla show a detail and variety that seem impossible in the harsh underground setting. Gypsum flowers grow from room walls in crystal bunches that can break at the lightest touch. Calcite shapes make frozen waterfalls and flowing curtains that look carved by an artist working in see-through stone. Cave pearls, formed by mineral-rich water dripping onto tiny centers, lie scattered on room floors like collections of ancient jewels. Maybe most amazing, these delicate shapes have stayed whole for millions of years in an environment that should have ruined them long ago. The cave's deep location shields it from ground vibrations and temperature changes, while its separation from surface water has stopped the flooding and dirt buildup that damage shapes in other caves. The cave's life presents another set of mysteries that test normal ideas about life's limits. In a place with no sunlight, very little food, and steady temperatures, researchers have found busy communities of bacteria that get energy from chemical processes, not sunlight. Some of these tiny life forms seem to play active roles in the cave's formation, making acids that keep making passages and rooms bigger. More complex life also lives in Lechugla's depths, including kinds found nowhere else on Earth. Blind spiders, see-through fish, and other creatures adapted to permanent darkness show evolutionary tests that have been running for millions of years in total separation from surface life systems. Finding these unique species makes us ask how life first moved into the cave and how genetic separation has shaped their development. Getting into Lechugla is still very limited, with only trained researchers and expert cavers allowed to enter under strict rules. This protection has kept the cave's pure environment safe, but also limits scientific study of its many puzzles. Every trip into the cave's depths is planned with great care to reduce human impact while getting the most science possible. The cave's formation story shows processes that worked over huge timescales in ways we still don't understand. Well, evidence suggests the sulfuric acid dissolving that carved Lechugla happened during several events spread over millions of years, each phase making different kinds of passages and rooms. The timing and reasons for these formation events are still active research subjects. Climate records kept in Lechugla's mineral shapes give insights into environmental conditions over hundreds of thousands of years. Growth speeds of cave shapes, chemical science, and mineral deposits, and other proof offer windows into past climate changes that affected the whole Southwest. These records might be key for understanding how the region's climate has reacted to natural shifts in the past. The cave's potential for future finds seems endless, as less than half of its suspected size has been explored. New passages are found often on trips, and remote sensing methods hint that more large rooms and tunnel systems are still not mapped. Each new discovery brings fresh puzzles about the cave's formation, life, and geological history. The study of Lechugla has meaning that goes far beyond cave science, offering insights into processes that might work on other worlds where similar chemical conditions exist. The cave's extreme setting and unique life forms serve as comparisons for possible ecosystems that might exist in the underground oceans of Jupiter's moons or in the deep crust settings of Mars, making this hidden world under New Mexico a lab for understanding life's possibilities across the universe. Puay Ruins. On a high mesa looking over the Chama River Valley in northern New Mexico, the stone walls of Puay rise from the land like a monument to lost dreams. Built during the 1300s and 1400s, this huge pueblo once held hundreds of people in a community that had wide views over the surrounding country. Yet, its builders left it completely, leaving behind only questions carved in stone. The size of Puay impresses visitors who make the hard climb to the mesa top. The pueblo first spread over several acres, with room blocks standing 3 and maybe 4 stories high around central plazas. Guesses suggest the finished building had over 700 rooms, making it one of the largest pueblos built during that time anywhere in the Southwest. The pueblo's builders picked their spot with clear care, choosing a mesa top that gave natural defense advantages while offering commanding views of travel routes through the river valley below. Fresh springs near the mesa base would have given reliable water, while the wide valley offered good soil for farming. Yet, despite these clear benefits, archaeological proof suggests the pueblo was lived in for only a fairly short time before being left empty. Building methods at Puya show good architectural skill and planning. Walls were built using carefully shaped volcanic tuff blocks taken from local sources, fitted together with little mortar in a style typical of late ancestral Puebloan stonework. Inside features include many kivas-round ceremonial rooms that served religious and social purposes for the community, having several kivas hints at a complex social order that included several family groups or religious societies. The pueblo's layout shows careful planning that is more than just putting family homes together. Room blocks are set around plazas that worked as community gathering and workspaces. Storage rooms, living areas, and special work zones were built into the overall plan in ways that suggests thought about community needs and social connections. Pottery pieces and other items found at Puya linked the site to trade networks that reached across much of the Southwest and into Mexico. Pottery styles from the Rio Grande Valley, the Four Corners area, and places farther south all show up in the site's layers, meaning the pueblo's people kept contact with distant communities despite their somewhat isolated location. The timing of Pui's building matches a time of important population movement all through the southwest. During the 1200s and 1300s, many smaller communities were left empty as people came together into fewer, bigger pueblos. This gathering pattern suggests responses to environmental pressures, social changes, or safety worries that affected the whole region. Environmental data from the Chama River Valley shows this time had big climate shifts, including long dry spells that would have stressed farming systems. Tree ring records show several years of very low rain during the 1300s, which might have forced people to leave poor farming areas and helped bring people together at sites like Pui. The pueblo's leaving seems to have happened slowly, not suddenly, with some areas still lived in after others were left empty. This pattern suggests people left because of slowly growing problems, not sudden emergencies like war or natural disasters. The reasons for this slow leaving are still not clear, since the mesa top location and available resources should have supported a good-sized population. Some of the most interesting mysteries at Puwai are about features that look planned but never finished. Partly built room blocks and building materials scattered around the site hint that big expansion projects were happening when the pueblo was left. This suggests the people meant to stay for good and grow their community, making their departure even more puzzling. The pueblo's link to other sites from the same time in the region is still poorly understood. While trade connections clearly existed, the social and political relationships between Puwai and other communities are hard to rebuild from archaeological proof alone. The site might have worked as a local center that organized activities across a wider area, or it might have been just one of several independent groups sharing similar cultural ways. Modern preservation work at PDPY faces ongoing challenges from natural erosion and weather damaging the site's building remains. The high mesa location that helped ancient people now exposes the ruins to harsh weather that slowly wears away the stone walls and building details. This ongoing damage adds need to efforts to record and understand the site before more clues are lost to time. Petroglyph National Monument along the volcanic cliffs west of Albuquerque. Thousands of pictures carved into dark basalt boulders make one of the biggest collections of rock art in North America, covering over 7,000 acres. Petroglyph National Monument keeps an estimated 24,000 separate petroglyphs made by Native American artists and early Spanish settlers over more than 3,000 years. The petroglyphs were made using a method called pecking, where artists used stone hammers to chip off the dark desert varnish coating the volcanic rocks, showing the lighter colored stone underneath. This process took much time and effort as the hard basalt resisted change. The work needed to make each image suggests these carvings had important meaning for their makers. The variety of pictures found all through the monument avoids simple grouping. Geometric designs go from simple spirals and circles to complex locked patterns that seem to follow math ideas. Animal shapes include known pictures of birds, snakes, lizards, and four-legged mammals, along with more abstract creatures that might show supernatural beings or symbolic ideas. Not real animals. Human shapes show up often on the petroglyph panels, shown in different poses and with different features that might show social jobs, ceremony activities, or spiritual states. Some shapes wear detailed headdresses or carry objects that could be tools, weapons, or ceremony items. Others look like they are dancing or in group activities that hint at community rituals or events. The challenge of understanding these pictures is made harder because they were made across many time periods by different cultural groups. Early hunter-gatherer peoples started carving pictures into the volcanic rocks over 3,000 years ago, starting artistic traditions that continued through later times of cultural change. Later ancestral Puebloan peoples added their own pictures to the growing collection, followed by historic Pueblo peoples, and finally, Spanish settlers who carved Christian symbols and colonial period pictures. The overlapping of different cultural traditions on the same rock surfaces makes complex scenes where newer pictures cross older ones, sometimes including earlier designs into new arrangements. These layered panels give insights into how different groups saw and used the land over time, but they also make it hard to understand the original meanings of single pictures. Some petroglyph panels look like they were made at places with special sky meaning. Pictures of spirals, sun symbols, and other sky themes often show up at spots where natural rock shapes frame views of sunrise or sunset places during solstices. These sky links suggest some petroglyphs worked as calendar markers or parts of seasonal ceremonies. Water sources spread through the monument area might have affected where petroglyph panels were placed. As many groups of rock art are found near springs or seasonal water collection points. Having these pictures might have marked territory lines, showed resource places, or served ceremony purposes linked to getting and managing water. Keeping the petroglyphs safe faces ongoing challenges from both natural and human causes. Desert varnish keeps forming over carved pictures, slowly hiding them over time. Vandalism, including both purposeful damage and well-meaning, but wrong cleaning tries, has harmed or ruined many petroglyphs all through the monument. City growth pressure around Albuquerque threatens outlying areas that hold more petroglyph sites. Modern technology methods for recording petroglyphs are showing new details about the pictures and how they were made. Digital photos using special lighting and image improvement can show faded petroglyphs invisible to normal looking. 3D scanning makes permanent records of single panels that save exact details of carving methods and space relationships between pictures. Chemical study of desert varnish and rock surfaces is giving new insights into how old different petroglyphs are, though these methods are still not exact and are argued about. The slow buildup of varnish over carved surfaces offers one possible dating way, but environmental factors can change varnish formation speeds in ways that make finding exact ages difficult. New research has begun to look at links between petroglyph pictures and spoken traditions kept by modern Native American communities. While specific meanings of single pictures are still mostly unknown, bigger symbolic patterns and artistic customs show continuities that suggest some petroglyph traditions have been kept alive over hundreds of years of cultural change. These links give valuable cultural settings for understanding the ancient rock art, though many parts of their original meaning stay mysterious. Chaco Cave in the forested slopes of the Sacramento Mountains in southern New Mexico. Chaco Cave keeps one of the most detailed records of ancient hunter-gatherer life found anywhere in the Southwest. This modest rock shelter carved into limestone cliffs by natural erosion worked as a seasonal home for moving peoples over nearly 2,000 years, building up layers of dirt that give rare looks into how these groups adapted to changing environments. The cave's useful location in the change zone between desert and mountain settings made it a perfect base camp for groups using resources from several ecological areas. During spring and summer months, hunter-gatherer families could gather peanut nuts, acorns, and other plant foods from the nearby mountains while hunting deer, rabbits, and other game. The cave gave shelter during seasonal storms and protection from extreme temperatures. Archaeological digs at Chaco Cave have shown very well kept, layered dirt dating from about 1500 BC to 250 AD, covering much of the Archaic period in the southwest. Each living level holds different groups of tools, food remains, and other cultural items that give quick pictures of daily life during different time periods. The keeping conditions inside the cave are special because of its dry setting and protection from weather. Organic materials that would break down fast in most archaeological sites have stayed whole for thousands of years. Pieces of baskets, rope, wooden tools, and plant foods found in the cave's dirt offer rare direct proof of technologies and survival methods invisible at most ancient places. Stone tool groups from Chaco Cave record technology changes over the long time of human life there. Early levels hold large two-sided dart points made for use with spear throwers. Later dirt shows the slow replacement of dart points with smaller arrow points that came with the start of bow and arrow technology around 2,000 years ago. Plant remains kept in the cave's dirt give detailed proof of changing survival plans and environmental conditions. Seeds, nuts, and other plant parts show how people used seasonal resources and changed their gathering ways to deal with changes in rain and temperature. Some plant types found in old dirt no longer grow right in the area, meaning environmental changes during the time people lived there. Animal bones from the cave show hunting methods and prey choices that changed over time. Early living levels hold remains from many types of animals, including large game like deer and elk, along with smaller kinds like rabbits, rodents, and birds. Later levels show more focus on smaller animals and careful processing ways that got the most food from available resources. The cave's dirt layers give a time framework for understanding cultural shifts during the Archaic period. Different living levels can be linked to specific time periods through radiocarbon dating of organic materials, letting researchers follow technology changes and cultural developments over hundreds of years of human adaptation. Proof of food storage and processing in the cave includes grinding stones, roasting pits, and storage holes that held extra plant foods during hard times. These features show the cave's people made technologies for making seasonal resources last longer and keeping food supplies safe during times of environmental stress. The social order of groups using Hukotank's cave stays mostly mysterious, even with all the archaeological proof. The size of the shelter and the amount of cultural material suggests fairly small family groups lived in the cave during single visits. But the repeated returns to the same spot over many hundreds of years hints at territory systems or traditional use patterns that linked specific social groups to particular places. Seasonal patterns of cave use can be guessed from the types of plant and animal remains in different living levels. Having certain seeds and nuts means autumn stays when these resources were ready to gather. Hunting proof suggests the cave was used when game animals were in the nearby area, maybe during seasonal migrations or breeding times. Environmental changes recorded in the cave's dirt matched bigger climate shifts that affected the whole southwest during the Archaic period. Times of more dryness show in changes to plant and animal groups, while better conditions match proof of population growth and technology, new ideas. The cave's dirt holds proof of cultural links to other regions, meaning these hunter-gatherer groups kept wide social networks. Known local raw materials for stone tools show getting or trade relationships reaching hundreds of miles from the cave. Style similarities between items from Hukotank's cave-in materials from far-off sites suggest shared cultural traditions that went beyond local group boundaries. El Cerro, Tom rising sharply from the Rio Grande Valley floor south of Albuquerque, the volcanic hill called El Cerro Tomé has drawn human notice for over 1,000 years. This isolated peak with wide views across the middle Rio Grande Valley shows proof of repeated living and use by different cultural groups, each leaving signs of their presence while adding new layers to the site's complex archaeological record. The hill's geological shape makes it a natural marker seen from great distances across the fairly flat valley floor, made of hard volcanic rock that has resisted erosion while nearby dirt wore away. El Cerro Tomé stands nearly 200 feet above the surrounding land. This height, plus its useful location near major travel routes along the Rio Grande, made it a clear choice for settlement and ceremony use. Archaeological surveys of the hill's slopes and top have recorded widespread artifacts, showing repeated living across several cultural periods. Stone tools, pottery pieces, and other cultural items are spread across many areas of the site, suggesting different groups use various parts of the hill for different purposes over time. The earliest proof of human use at El Cerro Tomé dates to the late Archaic period around 2,000 years ago. Stone tools, typical of hunter-gatherer people, suggest the hill worked as a seasonal camping spot or resource-gathering site. The high position would have given excellent views for seeing game animals or watching the movements of other human groups in the valley below. Later living during early Pueblo periods shows proof of more intensive use and maybe permanent settlement. Building remains including stone foundation lines and possible room blocks mean the building of solid structures on the hill's upper slopes. These features suggest El Cerro Tomé served as a village site during times when population pressure in the Rio Grande Valley led to living in more out-of-the-way places. Pottery groups from the site show links to bigger regional traditions while also showing local differences that might mean distinct community identities. Pottery styles from different time periods give proof of cultural continuities and changes that match developments all through the southwest. Some pottery pieces show signs of heavy use and repair, suggesting people put much work into keeping their clay containers. The hill's religious or ceremony importance seems to have crossed cultural lines and time periods. Native American communities still see El Cerro Tomé as a sacred place into the historic period, and modern Pueblo people still think it culturally important. This continuity of religious connection suggests the site held special meaning passed down over generations, despite changes in settlement patterns and social order. Spanish colonial period papers mention El Cerro Tomé as a landmark and reference point for land grants and territory borders. The hill's height made it a natural survey marker, and its special shape appears on many early maps and descriptions of the Middle Rio Grande region. Colonial period items found at the site suggest continued use during the historic period, though the nature of these activities stays unclear. Environmental factors that affected human use of El Cerro Tomé include its nearness to the Rio Grande and its location within a mixed ecological zone that gave access to several resource areas. The valley floor offered good farmland, while the hill itself gave stone resources for tool-making and building. Seasonal changes in water supply and farm production would have changed the strength and timing of site use. Modern threats to El Cerro Tomé include city growth pressure, from the growing Albuquerque city area, and recreation activities that can harm archaeological features. The site's location on private land has limited archaeological study, while also protecting it from some kinds of damage. However, erosion, vandalism, and unauthorized collecting keep threatening the preservation of cultural materials. Recent archaeological studies using non-invasive methods have started to show previously unknown features at El Cerro Tomb. Radar and magnetic surveys have found buried building remains and activity areas that show the site's complexity goes beyond surface visible features. These finds suggest the hill holds more archaeological dirt that could give new insights into its long history of human use. The site's importance goes beyond its archaeological value to include its job as a cultural landmark linking modern communities to their ancestral past. For Native American groups whose ancestors used El Cerro Tomb, the site shows continuity with traditional lands and cultural practices. This ongoing cultural meaning adds dimensions to the site's importance that can't be caught through archaeological study alone. Climate records from the Rio Grande Valley show environmental changes that would have affected human use of El Cerro Tomb over time. Periods of drought, flooding, and temperature shifts changed farm production and resource availability in ways that shaped settlement choices. The hill's high position might have given safety during floods or defense advantages during times of social conflict, adding practical thoughts to its cultural meaning. Salmon ruins along the banks of the San Juan River in northwestern New Mexico. The solid stone walls of Salmon Ruins show one of the most impressive examples of Chacoan influence, reaching beyond Chaco Canyon itself. Built around 1089 AD, this huge pueblo once held nearly 300 rooms, set in a carefully planned community that worked as a major center for the northern parts of the Chacoan system. The size and building skill of Salmon Ruins right away linked to the great houses of Chaco Canyon. The main building rose 3 stories high and spread over 2 acres, built using the same exact stonework methods that marked Chaco construction. Walls were made from carefully shaped sandstone blocks fitted together with little mortars, making structures of amazing strength and visual effect. The pueblo's layout follows building rules started at Chaco Canyon, with room blocks set around central plazas and a great kiva holding the community ceremony center. This 40-foot wide round room could hold several hundred people for community gatherings and religious ceremonies. Having such a large ceremony building means Salmon Ruins served more than just the local people, probably drawing folks from all around the nearby region. What makes Salmon Ruins especially interesting is its building timing compared to events at Chaco Canyon. The pueblo was built during the height of Chaca's power when great houses were being made all through the Four Corners region. Yet, Salmon Ruins looks like it was planned and built as a complete community, not growing slowly through many building events like many Chaco sites. The engineering needed to build Salmon Ruins shows the same level of planning and coordination seen in major Chaco projects. Builders moved an estimated 30,000 wooden logs from forests 50 miles away, picking trees of specific sizes and preparing them using standard methods. The exactness of room sizes, wall lines, and building details suggests construction followed detailed plans made by master builders who knew Chaco building traditions. Tree ring dates from building logs give exact timing for the pueblo's building phases and later changes. First building started in 1089 AD and kept going for several years as the community took shape. Later building events showed the pueblo was expanded and changed over time, with new rooms added and existing structures fixed up to fit changing needs. After Chacoan influence faded around 1150 AD, Salmon Ruins kept being lived in but went through important changes, showing new cultural traditions. Later people changed room layouts, added new building features, and changed pottery styles in ways that suggest different cultural groups had taken over the site. These post-Chaco living times lasted until around 1280 AD, long after most other Chaco sites had been left empty. Items found at Salmon Ruins show the same wide trade networks we see in other Chacoan communities. Pottery, raw materials, and finished goods from all across the southwest and into Mexico, show up in the site's dirt. Turquoise from mines hundreds of miles away, copper bells from Mesoamerica, and shells from both the Pacific and Gulf coasts show connections reaching the whole North American continent. The site's great kiva went through several renovation phases that give insights into changing ceremony practices over time. Early versions followed standard Chaco design ideas, but later changes included features more often found in post-Chaco Pueblo building. These shifts suggest developing religious traditions that adapted to new social conditions, while keeping links to older ceremony patterns. Recent digs at Salmon Ruins have shown more mysteries about daily life in this ancient community. Special work areas, storage places, and living quarters show how the pueblo was organized to support both practical needs and social activities. Yet, many parts of how this large community governed itself and kept social peace remain unknown, leaving basic questions about ancient Southwest political systems unanswered. Mesa Preta Petroglyph project in the rough land north of Espinola, where old lava flows made a maze of basalt boulders and hidden canyons, lies one of North America's biggest collections of rock art. The Mesa Preta petroglyph sites hold an estimated 75,000 separate pictures made over thousands of years by many cultural groups, making this area a huge outdoor gallery keeping artistic traditions covering much of human history in the Southwest. The petroglyphs are spread across hundreds of separate sites scattered through the Mesa country, from easy-to-reach places near modern roads to far-off canyons needing hard hikes to get to. This widespread suggests the whole landscape held cultural meaning for the people who made these pictures, not just specific spots being picked for rock art making. The variety of pictures found all through the Mesa Preta area avoid simple grouping or understanding. Abstract geometric designs go from simple circles and spirals to complex patterns that might show sky observations, family symbols, or spiritual ideas. Realistic pictures of animals include types still found in the region, alongside others that suggest environmental changes or links to distant places. Human shapes show up all through the petroglyph sites in different forms and settings. Some look like they are hunting, carrying spears or bows and arrows while following game animals. Others seem to be in ceremony activities, wearing detailed costumes or headdresses that hint at ritual jobs. Groups of shapes sometimes look like they are dancing or in community activities. The time span of petroglyph making at Mesa Preta goes from the archaic period through historic times, making scenes where pictures from different eras overlap and connect. Early hunter-gatherer peoples started carving pictures into the basalt surfaces over 3,000 years ago, starting artistic traditions that continued through later cultural changes. Later, ancestral Pueblo and historic Pueblo peoples added their own contributions to the growing collection. Some petroglyph panels look like they work as complex story arrangements that might record historical events, myth stories, or ceremony steps. These multi-part panels hold dozens of separate pictures that seem linked through shared themes or space arrangements. However, without knowing the original cultural setting, these possible stories stay unreadable. Skylines seem to have affected where certain petroglyph sites were placed within the Mesa Preta area. Spiral and circular designs often show up at places where natural rock shapes frame views of sunrise or sunset positions during solstices. These links suggest some petroglyphs served calendar purposes or marked places for seasonal ceremonies. The preservation challenges facing Mesa Preta petroglyphs are serious and ongoing. Natural weathering slowly wears away the basalt surfaces, making pictures fade or disappear completely. Flash floods during summer monsoons scrape some sites with sand and debris, speeding up the erosion process. Human impacts, including vandalism, unauthorized collecting, and uncontrolled visits, threaten many reachable sites. Modern recording efforts using digital photography, 3D scanning, and chemical study are racing against time to write down petroglyph sites before they are harmed or lost. These technology methods can show faded pictures invisible to normal looking and make permanent records that save exact details of carving methods and space relationships between pictures. Recent research has started to look at links between Mesa Preta petroglyphs and spoken traditions kept by modern Native American communities. While specific meanings of single pictures stay mostly unknown, bigger patterns in the rock art show continuities with modern Pueblo artistic traditions and symbolic systems. These links give valuable cultural settings for understanding the petroglyphs, though many parts of their original importance stay mysterious. The size of the Mesa Preta petroglyph sites makes us ask about the social order and cultural practices of the people who made them. The time and work needed to make tens of thousands of pictures suggests rock art making was an important cultural activity that involved many people over long periods. Yet the purposes served by this huge artistic output stay mostly unknown. Environmental changes recorded in the Mesa Preta area give context for understanding how petroglyph making linked to bigger patterns of human adaptation. Climate shifts, plant changes, and moving resource availability would have changed how people used the land and where they chose to make rock art. Some petroglyph sites look linked to water sources or travel routes that might have changed over time. The ongoing research at Mesa Preta keeps showing new parts of this amazing cultural landscape. Each survey trip finds previously unknown petroglyph sites, while better recording methods show details that expand understanding of known sites. Yet for every question answered, new mysteries come up about the people who turned this rough land into one of the world's great outdoor art galleries, leaving their mark on stone in ways that still inspire wonder and thinking thousands of years later. The preservation and study of Mesa Preta's petroglyphs show one of archaeology's greatest challenges and chances. This huge collection of ancient pictures offers rare insights into the artistic traditions, spiritual beliefs, and cultural practices of Southwest peoples across thousands of years of human life. Yet, the delicate nature of the rock art and the ongoing threats to its preservation mean much of this irreplaceable cultural heritage could be lost forever, unless special efforts are made to protect and record it for future generations.